We're going to talk about social media today. Social media is really important. Social media is kind of overlooked, I think. And I actually used to think that social media was, I never would say overrated, but definitely, the way that we would hand out the leadership roles is that social media was always one of those things that we would give to people who we didn't really have the highest of expectations for. Not to beat around the bush, but it was kind of one of those things we had a very minimal amount of effort coming into social media and we didn't really see it producing a whole lot of great things out of it. But then we had this guy come in, and I don't know if anyone remembers him. His name is Vaughn, like giving credit where credit is due. And Vaughn did such a stellar job with social media and the way that he did it and how he programmed it and what he did. Now, he actually came in. This is the very first time that we ever had somebody, I think, that came in with a very good mentality of having done this before, because we've had people be social media before who were also people who did this for a living. And there was actually one of them, he's not in TNT anymore. He did this a while ago and he said, "Well, I don't want to do social media because this is what I do for a living and I don't want to feel like I'm doing it for free, you know?" And so this is where we've always had people in the past just have a really bad attitude. And so when Vaughn came along and started doing this, he really changed everything and he made people feel really accountable who were doing it the wrong way. And so what he did more than anything else was he provided an outlet for people to find TNT. And that's what was really amazing. When he was behind the helm and he was at the producers when he was doing it, and when he was behind the helm, we had a lot of visitors coming. We had people were finding us on social media, but then we also had a ton of cross networking. And so all of these people that are going to other network meetings, they're also, following these pages and they see all this stuff, and it kind of feels like they're connected with the other groups. And so what he showed us was really just social media can be one of the most important and most influential. And of course, the way that guy was saying it before, the guy that I showed you the bad example, the way he could have seen it was, hey, this is what I do for a living. So by doing a really good job for TNT, people will want me to do the exact same thing with my business
Hmm.
or with their business. But he didn't. He didn't have that mentality at all. But anyways, this one of the things that is very, very influential. And Ricky and Rachel, you're business owners yourselves, and so you know the benefit of social media as far as what it can even do for yours. And so, social media is very, very important. And so we're just going to go through something here, but this is not going to take a whole heck of a long time. But I just wanted to go over with the social media role and kind of the expectations. Now, this is not something that's going to take a whole heck of a lot of time from you. The biggest thing with social media, having done it for a while, is just the fact that you have to build those habits. And so, like for me, I like posting, and we're gonna talk about that when we get to, going down in this particular role and talking about some of these things. And then I'm gonna just kind of tell you how I do it a little bit. But that's
Okay.
the biggest thing. The biggest thing is just building up the habit of doing it. And then once you do it, it's just like clockwork, Once you do it and you do it well, you maybe spend 20 minutes on it a week, just whenever, for me, when I was doing it just in bed, one night right before I went to bed and then set up my posts all throughout the week. So we're just going to go over what the social media role is because I'm also assuming that people that watch this probably won't even know what the role is. And so we're going to go over that and then I'll kind of go over some of the expectations and kind of just the what do they say that the what is that yellow book? It's not the Idiot's Guide to Social Media, right? It's something like that. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's a book series, right?
Dummies.
There you go. Here he goes. That's what we're talking about. All right, so now we're doing social media's role, right? Social media leader runs the chapter social media accounts to increase the visibility. You're going to post on social media, you're going to upload stories, create events, take photos and videos during your chapter's meetings. And so the biggest thing that you have to do as a social media within your actual meeting, it just make sure that you got your phone out and you're taking shots. And obviously, if you're taking pictures of people, you don't want to just, compile. We've had a lot of people in social media before just compile albums of pictures. You want to do something with them, you want to post them, but you can never post them if you forget to take a picture. If you forget to take pictures or videos, again, that's not a huge problem because when you're getting into the habit of doing this, you're going to make mistakes when you first start out because social media is very different as far as your expectations in the meeting. In the meeting, you're taught don't get your phone out, don't look at your phone. So now all of a sudden you say, okay, let's do look at your phone. So don't beat yourself up if it's a little bit of a growing pains here, but that's the biggest sort of expectation. Now, if you also have some people in your groups who are good at networking and whatnot, they're also going to be taking pictures. And like, for instance, if you're not there that week, they'll take pictures and then they'll send them to you. And so social media is something that a lot of, if you have good members in your group, they're going to help you perform the task as well. So you're also going to be encouraging a group's activity on the page just whenever you get up and do your, social media spiel, you get up in the meeting and you just want to encourage people to be sharing and liking the content, sharing in their stories, timelines, responding to events, inviting other local business owners and entrepreneurs to follow the page. Now, the biggest thing that I think some people get dejected by this. I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm sure they are incredibly low of people that actually see your content versus the people that interact with your content. I think a lot of people, when they're doing social media, get very dejected because they don't see people interacting with their content. That doesn't mean that they're not actually seeing it and they are responding to it in their mind or they're feeling, called to it. In other words, you might have a post on there, let's say, for instance, on the Waymakers you might have, 300 impressions off of just one post. Doesn't mean that you're always going to get shares and likes, but that doesn't mean it's making a difference. I think social media is one of those things that can bring new members and visitors, but social media is also one of those things that can push it away and make it to where people don't actually go to your group. And an example of that is if you go and you try to Google, networking opportunities near me, and I know this because I've done this before back in the day, and you see a Facebook page, let's say for REO used to have a local Maryville chapter, and they were meeting, they were still currently meeting, but they had not posted on their Facebook page for over a year. And so whenever you see someone that has a Facebook page and they haven't posted for over a year, you just think that the group isn't even there anymore. And so it's very important to at least stay consistent with that just to show that we exist. And so definitely don't get, bogged down. And if you don't see a whole lot of sharing and liking, you might have 10 likes, but you might reach 400 people. And so don't get bogged down on that. Don't beat yourself up or think that what you're doing is not making a difference. This is one of those roles truly where you're making a huge difference, but sometimes you don't often get to see that. So let's go with the social media schedule that they want you to do. Post in networking groups about your meetings. Obviously, here's the obvious stuff. If we're going to be changing our venue, perhaps, one thing that we used to do a lot is if we were going to have, a special speaker, if we're going to have a social, something like that, you might want to post something in there. And you can kind of take a look at this. You'll have access to this. And so you're going to just, post about the meeting. One thing that we always used to do is just have a post that we would put on Facebook where you would take the pictures that you took during that meeting and then post it saying, hey, we had a great meeting. That's the obvious one. Share motivational and networking related generic posts. And then monthly creating recurring events. I've never been big on recurring events. This isn't to say not to do it. I would say there's been a whole lot of different ways and there's not really a cookie cutter way of approaching this. I think it really is just going to come down to this. They say, what way or what diet is the best diet? It's the diet that you're going to follow. And so, for instance, if you're saying, I can do this, I can do that, maybe you can set up recurring events. Maybe you want to set recurring events. But my main point to stress here is that interactions and posting on the Facebook page and being the social media and keeping a constant presence is more important than any of the minutia of what you see here for the expectations. It's just important to put something on the page and to make sure people still remember your name. People still remember you're having a meeting and to create a very welcoming environment that people want to come and visit. Now, one thing we obviously want to do, because this is how we try to inspire people to go out and have outside meetings, is we want to highlight the member of the month. That's one of the big things. And then also the referral beast. One of the big reasons why you want to be the member of the month is to be acknowledged. And so if you have a social media that's not highlighting you when you win that accolade, you're not going to be very encouraged next week, or you're just going to do it and win it passive aggressively next time. So, we definitely want to encourage people with this, and we definitely want to highlight, people and events and bring light on people who are doing things quite well as well. And then quarterly create events for visitors days, socials, networking groups. But if all of this seems like very intense, I'll just say that, it's very much common sense. When you're in it, if you think something would make a good post, then post it. If we have Bob who did something ridiculous at a meeting and you got a picture of it, then post it and say, come and check out Bob next week, or put something there. It's just find something that works for you and have fun with it. That's the biggest thing in social media is that you get to actually have fun with it. There's a lot of roles in TNT that are very much clerical and not necessarily these sort of fun roles like VP is a lot of numbers and spreadsheets. Social media is just limited by your own imagination. So have fun with it. I have a couple of different apps that I use. One of them is this one right here, if I can navigate to it, Pic Collage. I love this thing. And so Pic Collage is one that I utilize. I think I pay like $4 for it a month or something like that. And you can go on there. It creates layouts for your photos. It creates little videos, something that's not just posting a picture. It's something more, but it does all of this for you. I mean, literally, you can see some of these examples here. All you did, or all this person did, was just upload a photo, and the app does everything for it. And so, if you've ever seen my posts on the Waymakers, the Legends, any of these other networking groups that are like this, that are like animated or snapshots or moving or anything like that, I'm using Pic Collage. I really, really enjoy Pic Collage. And a lot of these apps will make your life very, very easy for you. So just have fun with it. If you have a picture, you go into the app, you find something that fits. When it's fall, I use things like, the falling leaves and stuff like that. Just have fun with it. And so, again, we have, a weekly posting example highlighting the upcoming 10-minute speaker, posting the event in networking groups. Tuesday, encourage a chapter participation by having them post and tag the chapter. From a realistic standpoint, any time that you have to make someone else do something is going to be the hardest part of your job. And so for me, I just kind of give up on it. It'd be great if people open their phone and they did the check-in. It'd be great if they RSVP to the meetings. But that is the thing that people often struggle with, and you have 60-second social media role who get very discouraged because they're not getting that interaction. So just don't get discouraged with it. This is 100% your role. This is to do whatever you want with it, highlight new members, whatever it is that you want. Obviously, the 50-50, play around with that. Look at how they want. So this is the social media role, and like I said, you'll have access to all of this. But I did want to give you some practical advice on how I do things. And so when I found that it's very, very important to post probably 5 times a week, not necessarily on the weekends, but what I'll do is I will create something. For instance, in a meeting, you'll have three different things, right? You'll have the 50-50 winner, and then you have the 60-second winner, and then you'll have the person who actually spoke that week. And so those are three of my posts right there. And then if we have a new member, then I'll highlight someone else. It's very, very simple. Back when we had our summer games, I would put every single day a picture, a ridiculous picture that I photoshopped on there every single day. It's just in order to get that, in the back of someone's mind so they don't forget about you. And it's like I said, it's very important role and that you have probably more influence than anybody else in your group to actually get people and visitors there. And we've had an unbelievable uptick of people who report that the reason why they're coming to TNT is because they found us online. And so think about that too when you are making your memes or your GIFs or your pictures or whatever it is that you're doing, is we're not those other three-letter networking groups. And so when you're creating something and you're putting something out there in captions, have fun with it. TNT is an incredibly fun group. It's a fun meeting. And so that should also be highlighted as well. I've never really seen social media done poorly as far as, just making sure that your spell check is on. I've seen that a couple times where social media will post and their spell check's not on, or they can't read the room and do something really bad. But as a whole, just have fun with it. And so, Court, who is now Gail on the computer, says Gail. I forgot what you were going to contribute to this, so I will pass it on to you to whatever you're going to say about it.
All right. Hey guys, I was just asked to speak really briefly about some of the ways that I actually addressed social media. And some of them are really similar to what Lucas did. For example, I use the software Canva. You can actually even use the free version of it if you don't want to have to pay. And they have all of these templates. And so what I actually did was I created a template for member of the month. I created a template for the 10-minute speaker. I created a template for the 50-50 winner or for a collage of photos for the meeting. And I would use the same templates every week. So then, literally at that point, I would go in, I would swap a picture out for a different picture, change the text. If I had a brief text mentioning the speaker's name or their job or a brief summary of what they did, my job would simply be switching out that information. And it was a really quick, efficient way of already having something prepared and simply having to update it. And it allowed me to be able to post consistently without spending a great deal of time on the posts because I had something that I used for each specific thing. And like Lucas mentioned, I would do a collage of the photos from the meeting right after the meeting. The next day, I would have a template where I highlighted the 60-second winner. Then the next time, I would have the template for where I highlighted the 50-50 winner. And it was a really easy way of being able to post constantly with very minimal effort put into it as far as time. No one wants to spend a ton of time on this. And so it was just a really easy way to constantly be putting stuff up there for people to see. As Lucas touched on, really one of the most efficient ways of using social media is just having a regular presence. Because if your posts are what are constantly popping up into people's feeds, that's what they're going to be noticing. They're going to be constantly seeing those things. It's going to be a great reminder for people of our meeting, of the fun we have, of the things that we accomplish, and ultimately the relationships that we are building. Some other ideas of posts that aren't just necessarily strictly meeting photos. One of the things that I like to do is I liked to highlight if one of our businesses were doing anything special. For example, does this business have a special veterans discount that they offer for veterans? Is this business offering something special for Christmas, for New Year's, for holidays? A lot of times businesses are running special deals and the other members may not even realize it because it's not something they had time to highlight during the meeting. And so that's another really good way to put that out there, not only for the members of the group, but for everyone who follows that page. As you'll notice, the Waymakers, we have about 19 members in our group, but we have 373 followers of our page. If I put up there, Wilson Brothers Plumbing is having this huge special right now, that's now getting in front of nearly 400 people. And that could be a really good way of exposing some of the businesses in your group to new business, to attention. So that would be kind of a neat thing. That's something that I enjoyed doing was highlighting businesses when they were doing something special. Another thing that you could do is turn your 10-minute speaker introduction into a small opportunity for a bio. Well, we have our bios that we do during our meetings when we introduce our speakers, but you could even use the opportunity of highlighting the 10-minute speaker to be able to share a little bit of information about them, share why you don't want to miss that. This person is going to speak on this subject. It would be a great opportunity for people who have questions about this field or this subject to attend to be able to get this information, and kind of drum up some interest for the 10-minute speaker. We have people in our group, for example, the Waymakers, and there's not a business in any of the other groups that does that same thing. So it could be a great opportunity for people to come, make connections, find out about a business that is not currently represented in their group. So Lucas is kind of showing right now some of the specific things that are on the Waymakers page. But I just wanted to share really briefly some of the things that I found to be helpful and ultimately people would engage in, and it would attract more attention to the page from those strategies.
Yeah, and this is a great example of like those templates that you were talking about built in here, and they just look so nice. One thing that I will say, because I utilize those templates a lot, one thing that I utilize because all we really have is Facebook. We don't have, the Instagram or anything like that that we're utilizing that I know of. And so all you're going to be expected to utilize is Facebook, which by the way is an incredible resource to advertise. Whenever I did my estate planning conference presentation, this was a while ago. This is the first one that I did. All that I did was run Facebook ads and I got 400 people off. But I mean, Facebook is like how people find people these days. And so one thing that I utilize heavily in the Waymakers is it's very similar to like when you're at a meeting and you have outside meetings and then you're at your meeting and you're like, shoot, who did I have a meeting with? Because I forgot because you get into the week and now it's just busy and everything. So how I did my social media post is I'll actually schedule them in advance. So all of with your Facebook, and I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know this, but this is how was able to actually accomplish it. Because if you just say, oh, well, I'll just post on the day of, that's never going to work because life happens and things happen. So I utilize that heavily where I'll just do them all at once and then I'll just sparse them out throughout the week utilizing this feature. And so it really is like, it's like a VP kind of thing where you spend 10 to 15 minutes on one thing once per week and then you spread it out throughout the week and then I just didn't even touch it again. So like I'll schedule them all in advance and then I don't even touch it again until the next weekend. So that's how I did it. But you got anything else?
That is it for me.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, social media is not it's not an overly complicated job, but what I will say is that I do want to stress the importance of it. There are no unimportant jobs in TNT. I mean, even the timekeeper is important because you got to get people in and out, even though it doesn't, might not seem like it. But social media really is one of the biggest jobs simply because you have the ability to impact the group to get new members in. And then also, I'm sure all of you have seen and been a part of groups that their social media is lacking. And it becomes very frustrating, especially when you're the person out there that's, getting accolades and you don't see any of it actually, manifesting online. And of course, as you already said, these are just your followers. But you also have, if someone goes in and likes it, for instance, now all of their friends can see that you liked it. And so you're talking about 373 people that you know are going to see it in their feed, but this might share it over 1,000 people. And so you have the ability with one click to influence 1,000 people. So it's a big role, but don't let that intimidate you. Just have fun with it. Just have fun with it. Pick the pictures that you want. If you want to put a clown wig on Bob, put a clown wig on Bob. It'll be funny. I'll laugh at it. And so, like, there's not a whole lot of rules here. Just have fun. It doesn't matter what group you're in. No one wants to go to a group that it looks like you just took it at prison. Like, this is the first day of prison. And so, have fun with it and, highlight your members, make them feel like they're welcome and loved members of the group. Put them on there and just keep that daily presence. And I'm sure y'all will do just great. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We obviously are a continuing resource to us. But other than that, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Monday nights and hopefully it wasn't too stressful for you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry,
it is.
I was silent. I was eating.
No, no problem at all. No problem at all. It's great to see
Um,
you.
yeah, you too. So when will we get like our login stuff?
So you will get your login stuff presumably at the beginning of the new year when the transition
Okay.
goes over. It's very, very simple. All that the person has to do is go on Facebook and add you. You have to have a Facebook page, like a personal page, and all that that person does is goes on the TNT Facebook page and just tags you and gives you access to it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Sounds
Gail
good.
will go ahead and add everyone to the appropriate Facebook pages come the beginning of the year when the leadership changes are taking place.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys.
Yep.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, Ricky.
Have a
You
good night,
too.
Ricky.
See ya.